time for the Straight Up Wrestling Show.
What's up, everybody? It's HBT with the Straight Up Wrestling Show. I am here, guys, to talk about the man that's in the poster behind me, man. The pictures behind me, man. I'm going to talk about Vince McMahon. Hey, sorry that I'm a little bit late, but I am, and I'm here. I see Lucas is in the house. What's going on, Lucas? 20 of good, Kind Master CXX 2025 is in the house. What's going on, man? And you know what to do, guys. As you come in, whether you on Facebook or YouTube, or if you over on Twitch, guys, hey, go ahead and share, man. Share this thing. Let everybody know, hey, the Straight Up Wrestling Show is live and in effect. Hey, I was on the phone with Mr. Christopher Burton, the People's Podcaster, so that right there makes me a little late. Link or else, not right now, 20 of good Kind Master CXX 2025, maybe a little bit later on, but just stay tuned and I probably will bring you on here. But right now, I'm going to talk about Vince McMahon, guys. So we're going to get into this thing here in just a little bit. And, I got some points to go over. And, hey, you know what I'm talking about. I said, now is the time for Vince McMahon to make his return, guys. That's what I'm talking about. And I know some people out here are going to say, hey, man, you flipping crazy, man. This guy don't need to come back or whatever. I'm not saying that he needs to come back. I'm saying now is the perfect time. Now is the time for Vince McMahon to make his return. All right. And then, all right. Okay. PM. No. Okay. 20 of good Kind Master says no, because I'm not sending the link. So he is saying no. But yeah, I definitely, Lucas will bring you on a little bit later, man. But like I said, I am going to talk about Vince McMahon here, guys. In this here segment, this show right here, we are going to talk about Mr. Vince McMahon and what he's doing. And if you all know, for those who in the know, Vince McMahon have started another company, guys, and he's hired. Sorry about that. Just a moment, guys. I got my I got my iPad on, so you probably heard the background. But for those who are in the know, Vince McMahon has started another company, and he has hired a lot of people. He's hired a lot of people that has worked for him in the past. So he is getting this thing set up. He says he's going to go outside of wrestling. He's going to do a lot of other things, probably do some things that's sports related. I don't know. He's talking about some like movies, TV shows. I'm not certain. But these people that used to work for him and that he's hired were in the wrestling business with him. So what that is telling, what's that's telling us, guys? I mean, this guy knows wrestling. So for the most part, he's going to come back to what he knows. And, he's up there in age. So, it's like saying you're trying to teach an old pony new tricks and trying to say, hey, I'm going to try to bring a lot of different other things into your life for you to get into right now. He knows wrestling, and he knows that's his bread and butter, and he knows that's where he makes money. What's going on, Glenn White? What's up with you, man? What's up? Appreciate you coming in and rocking with us pretty much right now. But that's what Vince McMahon knows, guys, is wrestling. So right now is the time for him to make his return in wrestling. And, hey, I got some points that I want to go over of why I think this is the time for him to return and why he can be successful. I definitely think he will be very successful if he returns to the wrestling business right now. I don't see anything that can stop him from returning to the wrestling business. Now, is, the WWE, it's a huge juggernaut, man. And who built that? It was Vincent K. McMahon. And the reason that it is so strong now, did they lose a lot of support over the years, lose a lot of fans over the years? Yes, they did. Vince McMahon, hey, he pretty much came in and he made it this huge conglomerate, made wrestling this international global phenomenon, but he also crashed it. He crashed it. When it boils down to it, we can look at a lot of different, factors of things that happen, especially like with WCW and all that. But Vince McMahon, he pretty much crashed it. One of the first things the first mistake that he made was buying out his competition or beating down his competition so bad to where it had to be bought out, and that Time Warner didn't want to have anything else to do with it. Now, is that his fault? No, that's not his fault. That is the fault of the people that was running the competition that he was against, WCW. They destroyed themselves. And then TNA came around, and TNA, I mean, he wiped them out too. But TNA, hey, they made their own mistakes too. So, you definitely can't blame that on Vince McMahon. But, man, yes, I'm definitely about to go over these points about why I think it's time for Vince McMahon to make his return. And when he makes his return, he definitely can be very successful. Now, Father Time catches up to all of us, guys. None of us will beat Father Time. None of us. And Vince McMahon, what is he, 70, 78, 79? I mean, he's up there, maybe 80 now. I'm not exactly sure, but I know he's up there in age. Let me go ahead and look that up real quick. But he's up there in age, guys. So I am not exactly sure. Yeah, he's 79 years old. So yeah, he's 79 years old. So how much do he have left? How much passion do he have for the wrestling business? Now, in my opinion, I'm gonna go ahead and skip to this point. Is I do think that he wants to leave his name. Now, I think he's probably worried about his legacy. Now, his legacy goes all the way back to that man who's right beside him on that poster that I have behind me. The man that's right beside him, that's his dad, Vincent. I think Vincent J. McMahon. But that's his dad right beside him, and he has to protect that legacy. The McMahon name is not just his, and plus, I think he wants to leave something to his son or to it, both of them. His son and Stephanie. Now, I'm not sure about Stephanie when it boils down to it. Maybe his son, but his daughter, involved in it in a some kind of capacity. But I definitely think he wants to leave something to his son. So, man, yeah, it is. I think he is going to come back and be involved in this business, man, straight up. So, hey, look forward. Look at it that way. That's the way I look at it. And I think a lot of people out here already looked at it, especially when he came out and said that he was starting another company. Now, he has these lawsuits and all that, and he just basically now he has defeated the one that, the lawsuit that was out here against him as far as the federal lawsuit. He's pretty much done with that. He paid a fine. He paid a fine to the government. I don't know if it's FCC or he paid a fine to the government, like 1.4 million, and he paid like 1.1 million to the WWE, or it's 1.3 million or something like that for funds. I think that he misappropriated funds. Maybe he was paying off some of these women with some of the money that was supposed to be the WWE's. And remember, they are a public trading company. So they're a public trading company. So maybe he was using some stockholders' money, which he didn't supposed to, but he has paid that back to the WWE. But now he has paid the government too. So that case is closed, guys. So now all he have is civil litigation. So civil litigation is different than criminal court. He doesn't have no more criminal proceedings against him. So that works in his favor. But there's a strike. There is a strike against his reputation, straight up. So it's gonna, he's gonna have a little hard time to getting back into TV, but maybe not, because when it boils down to it, these executives and everything, they are all about making money. They're all about making money, and TV right now needs things that can generate funds, man. And Vince McMahon, if he starts another wrestling company, right off the bat, people are going to be interested in it straight up. And even though right before he had left, even though there was a lot of people angry with him and everything, if Vince McMahon, they say Vince McMahon was going to be on the show, hey, people showed up. The ratings went up every time they said Vince McMahon was going to be on the show. It was kind of funny, guys. But as many people hate him, still people are intrigued to see him. That's just the bottom line. People are still intrigued to see him. So, like I said, man, look, despite his age, now's the time for Vince McMahon to make his return. And number one, the first thing I'm going to talk about is why the first thing I'm saying it's time for him to make his return is there's other organizations out there. Now you got the WWE and you have AEW and you have TNA. Now TNA have merged over with TNA just merged with the WWE. So when it boils down to it, I don't know what the WWE is going to do with TNA. Now, if Vince was still running the WWE, I know exactly what will happen. They would pretty much crush that thing just like they did with TNA. It won't be anymore. It wouldn't be anymore TNA. So, but I don't know what the WWE is going to do. They said they're going to merge this thing, and I think they're going to run some shows out of TNA. So I think they're going to work with them some kind of way. I'm not exactly sure, but I know one thing. You're going to have people in TNA that's getting frustrated. They're going to want to get out of their contracts, or, you're going to have people being let go from the company. You're going to have people being let go from the WWE, AEW. There's people going to be let go. Vince McMahon, you better believe Vince McMahon have certain people in his sight that he want to get a hold of. So plucking stars from established organizations, that's what he did. Hey, like it or not, that's how he built the WWE. He, WWF before that, the WWF, World Wrestling Federation, or World Wrestling Entertainment, even if you want, you combine the two, they're the same thing. But he built that organization from stars that came from other organizations, man. They was already stars before they got to the WWE. Vince, back in the day, he was not building any stars. Now, if you watch that Netflix documentary, then they told you right off that's how he did it. I tried to tell people that for years. A lot of people just looked at you like you was crazy because that's all they know, and that's all they want to know is the WWE. But when it boils down to it, that's how Vince McMahon did it. He grabbed stars. He plucked stars from these not independents. They was regional, these territories. And a lot of these guys were super big, not just in the territory that he just got them from. I mean, Roddy Piper, when he got Roddy Piper came, I think Roddy Piper was in the Mid-Atlantic, then the Mid-Atlantic area, championship area under Jim Crockett Promotions, and he left and he went up to the WWE. And, so Roddy Piper was rocking with the Mid-Atlantic area and Georgia Championship Wrestling. He went on up to the WWE, but Roddy Piper just didn't have a reputation in the Carolinas and Georgia. Roddy Piper was known all over the nation because Roddy Piper, out in the Pacific Northwest, that's where he made his name. Up in California, he already had made his name. So Roddy Piper was already a huge star before Vince McMahon had got a hold of him. Hulk Hogan built his name over in Florida Championship Wrestling, and then he built his name over in the AWA, American Wrestling Association, out in the Midwest. He got huge, especially after the Rocky movie went down. Rocky, when Rocky 3 went down, where he played Thunder Lips, the ultimate male. He was huge. He was already big. Vince McMahon brought him over there. And yeah, Vince McMahon, I'm not saying Vince McMahon didn't elevate these guys to a higher plateau, but the bottom line is Vince McMahon had a machine behind him called the New York media that pretty much put that in play, pretty much played it out for him, did it for him. MTV, man, was basically like our cell phones, us of Generation X. That was like our cell phone, guys. We came home from school, our eyes was glued. As soon as we got home from school, I don't know, hey, for those who did their homework, I didn't do a lot of homework. I did do some or whatever. Or if you didn't play sports, you played sports or whatever, after you came home from practice, you came home, maybe you went out and did some activities with your friends, but for the most part, most of us, we turned on that TV. And even if you go over to your friend's house, everybody had the TV on and we was glued to MTV watching videos 24/7, guys. That's what we did. And we was on the phone with each other. But even when we was on the phone with each other, we had MTV on, man, just playing those videos over and over and over again. And who got a hold of MTV? Who used that as a vehicle? Vince McMahon. Very smart, guys. Very smart. So he had the New York media, and yeah, MTV was out there too. The New York media behind him, and he had MTV. And then he went and started joining up with celebrities. And, he plopped them on TV. Cyndi Lauper, Mr. T, Hey, Muhammad Ali, Donald Trump, so many different people. That's how he built his legacy. But all these guys, man, he was plucking these stars from other organizations. He went down, got Coco Beware and Coco Beware and Honky Tonk Man. Those guys came from Memphis. Junkyard Dog, out of Memphis. Who built this? Out of Memphis, Louisiana. Built Memphis, Louisiana, and the Carolinas and Georgia. Junkyard Dog already had built himself up into a huge star. Already had did that, guys. So Vince McMahon, that's how he was building himself, man. He built that organization by these big, huge stars that came from these big organizations. I mean, well, they was big, these big regional promotions. And so that's how he built them. But he was very strategic, very smart, and he was very good at plucking stars from established organizations. Now, there's a lot of stars, man, that's ready to be plucked up. You got Malachi Black, who's not happy with his contract and might not never be on AEW TV again. You got Ricky Starks out there. I mean, maybe the WWE is going to get him or whatever. But what I'm trying to say is there are stars that can be plucked that's being let go. And Vince McMahon will know what to do with a lot of these stars. Because I'm going to tell you the truth, man, when it boils down to it, most I'm going to even talk about AEW and WWE. When it boils down to it, man, I don't think neither one of them really know how to build a superstar. Now, when it boils down to it, a lot of these guys got to build themselves into superstars. They're trying to build themselves into superstars. They are doing everything they can. But one thing about Vince McMahon, did he build superstars? I'm not going to say he built he did. I take that back. He did build some superstars. He built some superstars, but those early guys was already stars. But Vince McMahon showed that he could elevate them and make them even bigger stars. And he made some other guys superstars that wasn't really superstars. They was like mid. They was really good. They had the potential. And he got them. He plucked them from other organizations, and he made them even bigger stars. So that's the first thing I'm going to say, man. That right there is the first notion that I have that, that him making his return, that he's going to be successful, is plucking stars from established organization, guys, and organizations, and he's very good at that. Number two, guys, is knowing how to build wrestlers into stars or knowing how to build wrestlers. Oh, gosh, what in the world am I doing? Oh, wow, man, I just messed up something. Oh, wow. Knowing how to build. Oh, gosh, I just messed up something, man. Yeah. Knowing how to build wrestlers into stars. Knowing how to build a wrestler's character. So that's one thing that he's always been able to do, is build wrestlers, establish them, make them into a bigger star. And he always have been able to build a character. He knows how to, he knows how to create characters. And that's one thing, bigger than life characters. Let's put it that way. That's one thing that wrestling is lacking, guys. Bigger than life characters. And this guy knows how to do that. If he doesn't do it, then he's going to have people around him that knows how to do it. And that's one thing that wrestling is lacking. So that is another aspect of this that I'm talking about, as far as him making his return, and why it will be successful is because he knows how to make wrestlers bigger and, into a bigger star, and he knows how to build them into bigger than life characters, guys. All right, man. Number three, thriving in chaos. One thing about Vince McMahon, if you want to go back, you got to go back to the Attitude Era. I mean, it was just flat out chaos. And Vince McMahon thrived in that chaos. Now, he was a character. He put himself as a character on TV. He thrived in that chaos. He knew how to bring in the best writers. He actually knew how to get people's goat, man, as far as getting people either upset or making people happy. He knew how to do that. So as far as thriving in chaos, this guy he can do it better than anybody in this business. So I definitely think he can come back and be successful at that. Thriving in chaos will help him out as far as Vince McMahon making his return. So that's the number three That's the number 3 reason I say he will make his return and he can make it successful is because thriving on chaos, and that's what's going on. He can thrive on that chaos, and he can even make it. He's one of these guys who can make chaos make sense, guys. Straight up. All right, number 4, guys, is competition brings out his creativity. Competition brings out Vince McMahon's creativity. Anytime that I saw Vince McMahon threaten with anything, guys, as far as in this wrestling business, he got better at it. He got better at it. And I'm going all the way back to the 80s. All the way back to the 80s. Anytime that the NWA did anything that was spectacular, Vince McMahon, he pretty much did something to, he did something to at least equal that. And when it boils down to it, he overcame that and made his situation better. Even though he copied a lot of things that the NWA did, he copied it. Like the Road Warriors. The Road Warriors, very successful. I know a lot of people, they made you guys, a lot of people who's going to listen to this, they're going to think, hey, Road Warriors, the Road Warriors, Hulk and Animal, they know them as Legion of Doom. Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. That's what we knew them as in the NWA. Of course, Paul Ellering and all those, they would say the Legion of Doom, but the Legion of Doom actually was a faction. That was Paul Ellering's faction. That was Jake the Snake Roberts, the Spoiler, King Kong Bundy, and the Road Warriors. That was Paul Ellering's faction, the Legion of Doom. And after all those other guys left Paul Ellering, he kept that name, the Legion of Doom. He just kept calling it the Legion of Doom, and all he had was the Road Warriors. But when they went up to the WWE, they wasn't, right away, they didn't start calling them the Road Warriors. They called them the Legion of Doom. And then they started using the Road Warriors. But Vince copied that and came out with Demolition. Now, was Demolition the same group? Was they better than the Road Warriors? No. Even though some people that used to watch the WWE say they were, but no, they wasn't not better than LOD. They didn't get that type of pop. But he did. He used to copy. He would copy certain things that they did. He picked up the Midnight Rockers from the AWA because he couldn't get the Rock and Roll Express. So that was one of his ways to pretty much copy what the NWA and WCW was doing with the Rock and Roll Express, Jim Crockett Promotions. He wanted his version of the Rock and Roll Express. And there's other examples that I can give you, but he definitely did a lot of copying. And then later on, WCW copied a lot of the things that Vince was doing. But Vince was very good at that, man. But I'm just saying, whatever his competition did, he was very good at going out and trying to top that, even if he had to copy you. And a lot of companies do that, man. Hey, Pepsi copied a lot of things from Coke. Coke copied a lot of things from them. They always try to top each other, but that's just American ingenuity. That's just, people who are very smart thinking with their minds, trying to top each other straight up. All right, man. I see Black Rain 7929 is in the house. All right. Lucas says, okay, now are you sending a link? No, Lucas, no. I'm definitely not. Now are you sending a link or else? Black Rain 7920. Didn't Paul take name from Super Friends? I'm not exactly sure about that. I'm not sure about that one. Black Rain 7920. My man John Smith says, hey, yo, what's going on with Vinnie Mac? All right, yeah, that's what I'm talking about right now, John Smith. All right, 20 of Good Kind Master said, no! Lucas. All right, my man Lucas. But, no, as far as Vince McMahon, all I'm basically talking about is Vince McMahon as far as his trial, guys, as far as his criminal case. Vince McMahon beat that this past week. That everything is clear as far as his criminal trial, as far as money racketeering or what I think, basically we could put that in that category. He has paid off the government, the FCC, or whatever it was that he had to pay off. He paid them off like 1.1 million, I think, and I think he paid like 1.3 or 1.4 million to the WWE. He paid that back. That was money that was possibly used for some of the lawsuits that he had earlier, as far as paying these women or paying these women for these non-disclosure agreements that he had. That's what that was about. So that case is gone. So he does not have no more criminal cases. And a few months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, Vince McMahon did start another company, guys, and he has hired like 7 or 8 people, executives that used to work for the WWE, that used to work for the company, that worked for him in the past. He has got those people working for him, guys. So what is he setting up for? Now, he's saying that this company is not, he's saying this company not really going to deal with wrestling. They're going to do some different things like getting into TV, maybe movies and things like that, maybe some other kind of sport. But I don't think so. They're wrestling executives. Vince McMahon, when it boils down to it, he's going to go back to what he knows. He's going to go back to what he knows, and it's wrestling. It's wrestling. So, I think he does have a bigger juggernaut now that the WWE, he's the one who set that up. The WWE is with Netflix. The WWE with Netflix over there on that Monday Night Raw is doing great numbers with Netflix, man. They are rocking it out. And I think they will continue to do that. But Vince, I'm pretty sure, Vince McMahon, and he's no dummy. He's no dummy. Vince McMahon is looking into that, and he's seeing what's happening. Now, one thing I said about last night's episode, and me and Chris, we talked after I accidentally ended. Okay, if you guys was on the show last night, I accidentally hit something. All I did was I moved the page, and for some reason it ended the show, and we couldn't get back in. So that's the reason the show ended a little bit early last night. But one thing that I looked at as far as SmackDown last night, SmackDown has become the second show, guys, and it looked like a house show to me, guys. Me and Chris were talking about it, and Chris said, pretty much right, guy. Pretty much right. It looked like a house show. So they have got to get back to business with SmackDown. They got to make it something spectacular, especially since they're putting it 3 hours. They got to make it look spectacular, just like Raw. Raw looks something different, man. It looks spectacular. They putting a lot of energy into it on Netflix. But Vince McMahon, I'm pretty sure he's looking at the weaknesses, because there's weaknesses with what's going on with WWE. They cannot expand, and they can't expand their creativity to bring in other storylines. We're still with this bloodline storyline, which should have ended last month, a couple months ago. It definitely should have ended. We're still into that. And then you had the Judgment Day thing, which ended. Really don't have any other storylines. You just had TV time just now take that title off of Nia Jax, but you really don't have any other storylines. Maybe they'll come up with something with Jade. I have no clue. But when it boils down to it, there's no good storylines, and you had 4 matches on the 2 Netflix shows. I think it's been 4 matches each time. In 2 hours, it's 3 hours the first week, 2.5 hours, and SmackDown, not too many more on that either. So I think that may be 5 or 6 matches. I'm not sure. So Vince McMahon is going to say, hey, okay, they're taking up a lot of time talking about nothing. Okay, so Vince McMahon is going to come in, and he's going to bring something totally different, and is he going to make people focus more on wrestling? Because anytime your company do something, he does the opposite. And that's what he did with WCW. That's how he got Eric Bischoff. That's how he got Jim Cornette. I mean, not Jim Cornette. He got Jim Crockett. Jim Crockett was all into wrestling. I remember WCW. We wrestle here. Vince McMahon, we are entertainment. We talk. We build. We have characters. Even though WCW had characters, they focus more on the entertainment aspect. But when WCW when they started getting into, when they picked up Hulk Hogan, they picked up Randy Macho Man Savage, they brought in Hacksaw Jim Duggan, they brought in Brutus the Barber Beefcake. They started doing things that Vince used to do. What did Vince do? And, they started taking share, not profit sharing, but they started taking some of the market, and a lot of people started, that used to watch WWE, their eyes went and started focusing on WCW, because they was doing a lot of things that Vince was doing, and a lot of those characters was over there now. So what Vince did, Vince became more of a wrestling company. They started focusing on wrestling. They got Chris Benoit. He came up there. They got, Stunning Steve Austin. which they turned into Stone Cold Steve Austin. He went to ECW first, then he ended up over there. But they started wrestling. That's all. Every time I went over there, it looked like something that Jim Crockett used to do. He was wrestling. It was a lot of wrestling. Lots of wrestling. It was no more Doink the Clown. It was no more Repo Man. It wasn't none of that. It wasn't none of that. They was wrestling, guys, hardcore wrestling. So he did the opposite of what they did. So Vince McMahon is one of these guys who's going to go and he's going to do the opposite of what his competition is doing. So he's looking at what WWE is doing, and he's going to come in there and he's going to do something totally opposite. He's going to give the fans something that they've been missing. Straight up, that's the way he does it. That's the way he does it. In AEW, when it boils down to it, I'm pretty sure he can come in and say, hey, I can come in, I can knock that thing out very quick. And I think he's going to have Shane McMahon in tow with him. He definitely will bring Shane in there because I think he's going to want his legacy. He's trying to build his legacy with this. He's going to want to definitely leave his name, leave a big mark on the wrestling business. So you better believe that Shane McMahon will be involved in this because he wasn't going to give up the WWE to Shane McMahon when Shane wanted it. He wasn't. But now I think he will be willing to do that. All right, John Smith. What do you think? What do you think Solo walking out means for Fatu and the Tongas? Look, they may be trying to build a storyline as far as that bloodline thing, and maybe that will be the crashing of the bloodline. So that may be what the WWE is doing with that. All right, and John says, especially with Fatu saying he's just getting started. Yeah, well, Fatu could be a single. He could actually morph into a single star. He's basically the biggest, baddest thing as far as in that, the new bloodline. So that's probably what they're trying to do with that. They're trying to pretty much morph him into a big star. So we'll see how that turns out when it boils down to it, John Smith. But yeah, so that's what I want to go back to as far as that, as far as saying that Vince McMahon, despite his age, now is the time for Vince McMahon to make his return. And that was my fourth point right there. Is the fourth point is competition brings out his creativity. Vince gets very creative when he has a lot of competition. When he has competition, he gets very creative. So we'll see, and he likes knocking down the competition. This guy's like Walmart. When I worked for Walmart, I remember that. I was in management with Walmart. And I asked Walmart, why are they doing that? When Walmart, I was with them when they first started getting into the grocery side of things. Why are you guys doing that? We like to knock out the competition. We like not having competition. They looked at those grocery stores as competition, guys. They wanted to end the grocery chains. So that's the reason they did that. So it's crazy, man. But Vince McMahon likes to destroy competition, guys. So, man, yeah, so straight up, hey, his competition, man. Competition brings out his creativity. Vince is very creative when he has competition. And he needed that over all those years. Vince was needing competition, and TNA never really brought competition. They never was competition. All right, guys. The fifth point that I want to make about Vince McMahon and his return is Vince feels he is wrestling. Vince feels he is wrestling, and he wants his name to be the dominant force in wrestling. He does. The way Vince McMahon for the last 40 years, I'm pretty sure we can go all the way back. We can go all the way back to 1984 when Hulk Hogan ended up taking that title off of the Iron Sheik. I'll say all the way back to 1984. That's 41 years, basically almost 41 years ago. Vince McMahon has basically been the dominant force in wrestling, and that's the way he still feels. He's the dominant force in wrestling. Vince McMahon didn't want anybody else. John Cena was the last one who made his name bigger than the company. He said no other wrestler, we're not going to let that happen again. But who else was bigger than the company? I was talking to Chris. I said Vincent McMahon. Vince McMahon was bigger than the company. It was all about him, especially during the Attitude Era. It was all about him. He made himself a giant, man. He was big. He was bigger than wrestling when it boiled down to it. He was bigger than the sport itself, and he basically wanted to erase wrestling, and he just called it sports entertainment. But when it boils down to it, he knows that's what it's about. Sports entertainment is wrestling, and he feels he's the biggest name in that, and he wants to take that back, guys. You better believe that. He wants to take that back. And plus, I think he has a grudge against. I think he has a bone to pick with those with TKO Holdings and Endeavor. He's not going to let that go, guys. He's not going to let that go. And do I think he will come back and destroy? Do I think he's going to destroy the WWE? No. But he will hurt it. He will hurt it. The WWE, it might be a good thing for him. I hope Vince does come back. Because, look, Vince will make them step up their game. He will make them step up their game straight up. Straight up. And everybody needs to step up their game. WWE, AEW, and TNA is going to be with the WWE. But TNA, MLW, or whoever else. But, you know, it's speaking with, I'm going to go back to the plucking. I will definitely get to my man, Walraz, in a little bit. Walraz, glad that you joined me. But definitely get to Walraz in just a little bit. But, guys, going back to plucking, how Vince, he's so good at plucking talent from other organizations. Like I said, there's other big organizations out there right now. WWE, AEW, TNA, and, you know, MLW. Got some great wrestlers there, too. But there's some great wrestlers, guys, out here in the indies. It really is. It really is. Now, he's going to need an agent. So I don't think Vince is going to go around and finding these guys or whatever. But all over the internet, man, you can see and look at and find great talent. But send people out, and Vince will do that. But he's great at plugging talent, guys. And like I say, he's so good at building talent, you know, elevating guys and making them a bigger star. He's good at developing characters. And he's got to be more motivated now than ever, even though he's 80 years old. Like I said, man, hey, Father Time beats us all. But, hey, he's looking for this time right now, and I think, you know, hey, I want to leave something great for my son. This is the time to do it. All right, my man Walraz says, at this point, it's elderly abuse. This woman should release all of her text messages to give a better context into what she's accusing him of. Vince has handled this like a gentleman. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Walraz. Because, I mean, he's basically out here, and, you know, Vince is laying it down the line, and he's you know, he's not out here just saying, hey, none of this stuff happened or anything like that. He's saying it's not happened. It didn't happen the way she portrayed it. So, man, it's his word against hers, but I don't think she's going to get what she thinks she's going to get. Now, she's probably going to get something, but, man, she had a choice in this. I do believe that she did have a choice in this. I don't think Vince had, you know, he didn't hold a gun to her head, you know, so it is what it is. And the woman who's the lawyer who is out here, who's representing her, she's representing a lot of people. And, you know, that make all these allegations, and they make up certain allegations. So we'll see how all that comes out. You know, I'm definitely interested and want to see how this thing turns out, man. It's going to be crazy. Yeah, Walraz says Vince knows to surround himself with people who are smarter than him so he can make the best decisions possible. That's true. Yeah, Walraz, okay, says Vince makes everyone around him better. Yes. What right does anyone have to tell Vince McMahon he should not return? That's true. That's true, Walraz, straight up. Yeah, when Walraz give a love sign, that's true. No ends, ands, or buts about it, man. I mean, there's nobody out here can tell Vince McMahon, hey, we don't need you back in business or whatever. But, you know, I think it's wrong for the WWE to trying to erase his legacy. That's just flat out crazy. That's flat out crazy. All the way to his dad, man. You know, trying to erase the legacy of the McMahons or whatever, you know, trying to scrub his name from, you just can't do it. You cannot do it. It is what it is. But, man, yeah, Vince McMahon is going to be a problem. I definitely think, I just don't know when it's going to happen. But do I think it's going to happen before the end of this year? Yes. Probably something's going to happen probably by the summer. Some, you know, Vince is gonna stir some trouble, man. You know, I ain't gonna call it trouble. It's good news. Whatever he does, if he says he's coming out with another wrestling company, it's good news. And This is the time. This is the right time right now to do it. Better than ever to do it right now. Wrestling needs it needs that tug. It needs that kick in the butt. It needs somebody to tug on those shoulders, man. Pretty much take it by the neck and stretch it, man. Hey, if anybody can stretch the WWE, it's Vince McMahon. Anybody can stretch AEW, it's Vince McMahon. Stretch TNA, stretch MLW, it's Vince McMahon. And Vince McMahon, hey, when he was with WWE before he left out of there, MLW won a suit against him for $10 million. So, man, I'm pretty sure Vince has a lot of things, man. He has a lot of things to fight for, has a lot of reason to come back and do his thing. Straight up. Walrad says there's a strong possibility she was attracted to the power dynamic. Yep, that's true. And once it ended, she was very upset in a way that she never was when she was in it. That was her choice. That was his choice. Yes, that's true. That's true. 100%. 100%. All right, man. Okay, I think I just now finished with the legacy. Like I said, legacy. Vince feels he is wrestling and he wants his name to be the dominant force in wrestling entertainment long after he leaves this earth. So that brings in his son and his daughter. But I definitely think he wants his son to take over whatever he has, whatever he brings back, because it's going to take a long climb for them to surpass the WWE, but it can be done quickly. It can be done quickly. Now, who are we to think it can't be? Because the WWE has built this big juggernaut. But remember, every single thing that WWE has is all because of Vince McMahon. In my opinion, it's not just my opinion, in my partner's opinion, the People's Podcaster, that's all we talk about, is because it was the infrastructure that he built, that management team that he built. That's what kept the WWE afloat while they was losing millions and millions of consumers. That's the reason they kept making money, because Vince was smart enough to know the fans that was left out here, or fans who's going to buy all the merchandise, or fans that's going to go out and going to spend that extra money to get into the arenas to see his product. Vince, man, very strategic, very smart to continue to lose money when he was losing consumers. Very, very bright, man. Very bright. And a lot of that has to do with definitely inflation and everything, but still, he was still able to do that. And he brought in Nick Khan, who's a genius at it, man, who's a master at, as far as calculations and, things, money management and all that. Nick Khan has been, he was great for him, so. All right, let me check out Walraz again. Imagine if someone tried to scrub your very existence. Exactly. How would you feel? Imagine if someone slandered you and your 80 years of hard work and got people to believe mischaracterizations. Exactly. Walraz said, I appreciate you saying it's not trouble, that is his life work. We all strive to do the very best we can and to create in this world. He's doing the same. Exactly, Walraz. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. My man Walraz put up praying hands. No doubt about it, brother. Straight up. Straight up. All right. Next, man, we have next thing, the 6th point I'm making is being able to hand the business over to his children. And that's pretty much what I was saying right there, as far as him being able to hand the business over. Because, as far as looking at that documentary and not even before the documentary, before they put that out there, I know he wants to, even though he had a certain relationship with his father and he had a hard time, his father sold him, he had to buy the business from his father. Vince, I do think he want to say, son, at that time when you was wanting the business, wanting me to pass the thing over to you, it was not my time to go. It was not my time to go. I still had a lot left. Now, Vince McMahon, over the years, now people have accused him of a lot of things, and they say, oh, he ruined this, he ruined that. But man, this guy, can you imagine the type of pressure that he had at the helm of the WWE, as so many different wrestlers was being signed, and him trying to keep everybody happy And I mean, can you imagine when you are building stars? You already got established stars. You got a Cactus Jack, Mankind, or whatever you want to call him. You got so many different names, but you have a character like that, or you have different characters coming in, man. Guys being built, they becoming superstars, and then you have other superstars coming up, and they have nowhere else to go. And all these guys, they want to get in the storylines. And they may be on top for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, maybe a year. They on top, and then that character lose, and you have a certain segment of fans, they're pissed off, and then they may have another wrestler the same way. Those wrestlers lose too, and they start falling down. People started looking at Vince McMahon and saying, "You weren't my favorite wrestler." People got personal. That's all it is to it. They got personal when Vince was trying to handle hundreds and hundreds of superstars over the years that was coming through the doors, starting new careers. You can't please everybody. He only had a certain amount of time to put wrestlers on TV. They had, he had Raw, SmackDown, and then NXT. That's not enough. Back in the regional territory days, like I said, that's one thing, that was a mistake. Vince wasn't the only one who did it. Vince pretty much was, he was stealing, I ain't gonna say stealing. He was in competition. He took talent, but the territories were still around. Jim Crockett went and bought a lot of those organizations that Vince was taking talent from. They wasn't dead yet. Jim Crockett, my man Jim Crockett, went over there and bought those organizations and dwarfed them into the Mid-Atlantic, which became WCW. He bought Georgia Championship Wrestling. He bought Florida Championship Wrestling. He went down to Tennessee. Bought Memphis. He bought Bill Watts. Bill Watts organization. He bought the UWF, which was Mid-South. He bought them out. So he bought Kansas. Missouri. He bought out all those organizations. NWA became one conglomerate and became WCW. That wasn't Vince's fault. So when they had all those territories out there, you could go somewhere else, man. And the state, it was, you could become a state champion. And those people ran on TV. They was running back then. They was running in syndication. So millions of people in the state got to watch you. Now, it was still going on when Vince had his conglomerate going on in the 80s. People still, Memphis was doing 5-6 million people on TV. Their ratings was bigger than what the WWE is now. Memphis wrestling, Jerry Lawler, CSWA, I can't remember, CUSA wrestling. His territory used to do 5 to 6 million on TV. Out of just Tennessee, Alabama, and Arkansas. That was their territory. They did over 6 million views every Saturday. Incredible, man. Incredible numbers. But that's how popular wrestling was. In the Carolinas, Mid-Atlantic, just in the Carolinas and Virginia, man, they did 2.3 million a week. And then, but they had a bigger footprint. They went out through Georgia. They even went up into New Jersey and out into New York and Philadelphia. They had a big footprint, but Mid-Atlantic, did very well, made so much money. And, so that right there afforded them to be able to buy up all those other territories that Vince went and grabbed other talent. They just went in there and said, okay, we're going to buy up these territories so they cannot compete with us. And we can compete with the WWE. So we can't blame all that stuff on Vince McMahon. We really can't. As much as a lot of us want to, we cannot blame it all on Vincent K. McMahon. All right, man. But being able to hand the business over to his children. That's the last point I'm making on this. But yeah, I do. I think he wants to hand it over to Shane McMahon. That is the reason that I'm pretty sure that's the reason why all that stuff was going on with Shane McMahon was supposed to go over to AEW, that he was playing with AEW. Now, do I think that him and Vince was trying to buy AEW? At first, I was thinking that, but I'm thinking that Shane McMahon was coming in there and pretty much to change their fortunes, because maybe that they was what they was trying to do to his dad. But man, Shane never really had anything to do with creative. Anytime he had try to come up with something creative, his dad shut it down. He never had anything to do with creative. So his ideas are basically going to come from his dad. You better believe that. But now Shane is going to come in and start wanting to book for himself. But they're going to bring in a good booker. They always have. Straight up. But let me go on back. Let me go and get the rest of these comments, guys. All right. Appreciate everybody coming in. I see my man Jordan Payne is in the house. All right, Walrad said Vince McMahon knows every Achilles heel of the WWE. He's the best person to do it. Yes, sir. 100, 100. Yep, thumbs up. Walrad said he offered to buy each one. The ones that said no, what was he supposed to do? Exactly. He had a family to feed. He had a roster to pay. That's exactly right. Exactly right. Walrad's 100. Walrad's 100. He wants to make right for what he did wrong and hand the business over to Shane. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. I definitely agree with that 100%. 100%. Oh, Jordan, I did. I froze up there for a minute. I don't look like I'm froze now. I appreciate you letting me know that. Jordan says he can't do multiple things at once. He could only do so much. Exactly. Exactly. Jordan said, I miss watching y'all. Y'all, I'm back, though. All right. Appreciate you, my man. Appreciate you, Jordan. All right. Walrad said, yeah, he wants to make, yeah, I got that one right there. Walrad's last thing. But, yeah, he wants to make everything right, man. But, yeah, as far as these characters, that's the reason I think so many people turned on Vince and K. McMahon, because they was not pleased with what was happening with their characters. You know, people, the one thing that I see with wrestling today, and I hate to say that, within the last 15 years, this generation of fans they fall in love with one wrestler. They fall in love with a certain wrestler. They might like other wrestlers, but they fall in love with a wrestler, and it becomes a personal thing to them. And when something happened to that wrestler, man, it seemed like they can't handle it. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many people, so many fans, they turned on Vince McMahon, is because they couldn't handle what happened to a wrestler that they really loved. He done threw that wrestler on the bus. He ain't doing anything for him. Man, look, I love Ricky Steamboat. Ricky Steamboat was my favorite wrestler. And then Ric Flair, back when I was growing up. And then Ric Flair took over after he had, after Ricky Steamboat had left and went up to the WWE. Ric Flair took over and became my favorite wrestler. But those were my two favorite wrestlers. But, man, I also had other wrestlers that I loved to death. Hey, when Ricky Steamboat left, did I go and chase him? I did go and watch him every now and then. But it didn't hurt my feelings. Ric Flair, he defended his belt. He was a world traveler, man. I used to watch Mid-Atlantic every week in Georgia Championship Wrestling. I didn't see Ric Flair for months at a time. But you know what? I still had Barry Windham. I love Barry Windham. Man, I used to love Brad Armstrong. Man, I used to love watching Chief Wahoo McDaniel. I used to love watching Greg Valentine. Used to love watching Roddy Piper back then. So many different wrestlers that I loved watching, that I did not get so involved with that one wrestler that maybe, he started falling down the ladder. He was, on top one day, and then next thing you know, he's a mid-carder. I didn't get mad at who was running the thing and saying, he's doing them wrong. I'm not going to watch that again. And that's what happened with Vince McMahon, guys. Straight up. That's what was happening with Vince. Max Savage is in the house. What's up, Vince? Not Vince. Max Savage is in the house. Max says Vince is one of the greatest of all time. Yes, he is. Let's see. Let me put all this stuff on the screen, man. If I can get it up. Jordan says, have you seen Bob Keller lately? Ha, 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 ha. No, I haven't seen no Bob Keller. Max says, and Penta is a future world champion, too. He could be. He could be, Max. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say that. He did really good in that match against who was he wrestling? He wrestled Chad Gable. Did very good in that match. One thing about that, I just don't think they should have fed him Chad Gable. That's just my opinion. But we'll see how everything turns out with Penta, and we'll see if they drop the ball. Hopefully they don't drop the ball on him. Straight up, man. Straight up. All right, my man Walrad says, you imagine if someone tried to, okay, not that, says, great point. They mistake his business decision for his character. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and right there he was saying, you imagine if someone tried to scrub your very existence, the WWE was not just somewhere he worked, that was his life. How would you feel? We are all here to simply create legacy in this world. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Leave your mark on this world. Hey, even the word of God talks about that. Leave your mark on this world. Leave something for your children. And I think that's something that Vince McMahon is trying to do. Leave it to a son, man. Leave it to a son. Maybe his daughter too. All right, Walrad says, not Walrad, let's see. Jordan says, sometime today I'm going to watch the hair versus hair match. Okay. Yeah. What I got here? All right. Max says, I used to watch him in the indies and stuff. He's a once in a generation. Who you talking about there, Max? Oh, you talking about Penta? Yes. There's no doubt, man. He was great on the indie scene and down in AAA, Mexico. Very, very good. Very good. But you gotta help people. You gotta help people, man, that can keep up with him and definitely work with his style. Hey, styles make fights, man. Straight up. All right. Walrad said, do you think it hurts Vince knowing that he's been mischaracterized, wondering about what his father would have thought about him? I think it does to a certain point, Walrad, but Vince, he's down to earth, and Vince is very good at talking about, he knows what us as human beings are. Like he said, we're flawed. Humans are, we're flawed, man. We all make mistakes. We all have something about us that some people might not like. But when it boils down to it, that don't mean that you straight up that you're a bad person. So do I think that he think his father would be judging him right now? To tell you the truth, no. I think he probably think his father will be proud of him to a certain point. Now, his father was old school, so he was down for the territories. He was friends with a lot of guys in territories. Now, that's something that he may be upset with Vince about, but I think he would have got over it by now, and he would be proud of what Vince have done for the business. But his father still looks at the business in the old school way. But as far as the characterization, as far as what happened with women and everything, he may say, you should have kept that away from Linda or something like that. But men make mistakes. That's just what we do. We all do it. Men, women, we all do it. But I don't think his father would be very disappointed with him, and I don't think he's really thinking about that. Maybe his father looking down on him and saying, I'm disappointed in you. I think maybe there's an inkling there because his dad never had those kind of things happen when his dad was running that. And you better believe the WWE, the WWF was big back then too. It was big. Despite what Vince McMahon says about the business back then, hey, the World Wrestling Federation was big back then. Even though it was mainly on the East Coast, the Southeast Coast, with, they dominated New York, Rhode Island, Connecticut, those little small, the Boston area, the New England area was their territory. They mostly, was supplanted up there. They was the biggest regional promotion. It was a huge regional promotion, and they sold out Madison Square Garden every year for 20 years. Every Monday night for 20 years, they sold that thing out. So they was huge, man. That was 20-something thousand fans every Monday night. And they used to sell out in Washington, the Washington Capitol Center, every Thursday night or every Wednesday night. And they sold out in Boston over and over again. They was always selling out. They're selling out the Boston Gardens back in the, in the 70s, the 60s and 70s. So for Vince, Vince to say, hey, it was all in, small, and it was it was all in these little small little buildings, and it was all in bars and things like that. That's not necessarily true. You did have a lot of outlaw wrestling back then, but a lot of these regional promotions, man, they were huge, and they wrestled in big time buildings. Memphis down, they sold out every Monday night. Jerry Lawler back in the 70s and 80s, he sold out every Monday night, 10,000 people every Monday night in the Memphis Coliseum. The Sportatorium in Dallas sold out every I think every Monday, whatever. I'm not sure what day they was doing their thing. I think it might have been Saturday night, but they sold out, and they made 8,000 every week. Jim Crockett, man, when he was out here in the Carolinas, where I'm from, he sold out the Greenville Memorial Auditorium every Monday night, 7,000 fans. He sold out the Greensboro Coliseum, which was the biggest at that time in the country outside of Madison Square Garden. Used to hold 16,000 fans. He sold it every 16,000. He sold it out every single. I think they did that Friday nights, and he sold out Charlotte Coliseum every time they went every week. Sold that out 12, 13,000 fans. So a lot of that stuff what Vince was saying, that wasn't necessarily true. You did have mud shows and outlaw shows, a lot of them around the country. But Vince went ahead and used that. He wasn't telling a lie about it, but he wasn't giving everybody the full truth. But yeah, he did make it a big market globalization. He made it something huge that we never seen before. He did do that. I'll give him that. Matt said, I would like to see him face Ray. Okay, you talking about his brother? Okay. Matthew Collins, Harry, there are mistakes, and then there are criminal mistakes. It would be Vince to stay home and be best for Vince to stay home and put and out of the public eye. Well, look, Matthew Collins, man, look, he beat that. He went through the criminal, he just had his criminal. He done went through criminal court. He's beat that. That it's over with. That's over with. So everybody deserves their day in court. Everybody deserves their day in court. He settled that. So, I mean, we can sit here and speculate and say, well, he did all this stuff to these women. So he's a criminal. I mean, we can all sit here and say that. But when it boils down to it, none of us was in those rooms, guys. None of us. So I can't say that Vince did anything criminal until it's proven in court. Because all these women, they taking him to civil court. Now, if they think he did something criminal to him, then they should be taking him to criminal court. They should be bringing charges against him for that. And that's all I'm saying, Matthew. They should be bringing charges. It does not matter now. Do I think a lot of those allegations that's against him is horrible? Yes, I do. And man, you talking to somebody who never cared for Vince McMahon. I never cared for him because I always was an NWA guy. And really, at certain points in my life, I have hated the man, to tell you the truth. Straight up. And that's just being straight up. But man, when it boils down to it, I'm just talking about wrestling. And a lot of people have done criminal things and have came back in life and have done spectacular things. So, but like I said, it's up to those people to take him to criminal court, to charge him with something. They got to find enough evidence to charge him with something. Matthew, that's all I'm saying. They got to find something to charge him with a criminal case. Because, I mean, we can look at somebody like R. Kelly, and we can look at even Puff Daddy. You can put that on the same scale. Epstein, you can put this on the same scale. We can sit there and say it's on the same scale. But until there's until somebody can come up and prove something criminal against him, they don't have a criminal case. All these women have made it a civil case. So what they're saying is he didn't hold them against their will. He didn't hold them hostage. He didn't make them do that, even though some of these women said he was pretty much forced themselves on them on them. That's what these women said. But when they boil down to it, they say, oh, we just want to take them to civil court and we want to get money out of them. And that can happen to any of us. It can happen to any of us, Matthew. You and I. You can come down here and work with me and Chris, and with what we're about to do as far as in this wrestling business, and it can go huge, and we can make a good money off of it, real good money off of it. Somebody can accuse you of the same thing. And everything that happened with Vince, we all men. You know, me, you, we're both men. That can happen to us and say it was consensual. But these women can go, you know, they can go out there and say something about it, say something about you, and immediately you are a criminal in people's eyes. You are assumed guilty. You assumed guilty until you're proven innocent now. Back when I was growing up and back when I went through school, they said everybody, man, you're innocent until proven guilty. But in this case right here, guys, is this man is being, people are saying he's guilty before he's got to prove his innocence. And that's what so many people today now. You assume it was something that came out. It was something came out on the news or whatever. And they told this guy, they was reading him his rights and said, you know, you're guilty until proven innocent. And then they had to correct that. No, somebody had to correct that. It was the news lady or whatever had to told a person who was the police chief or something like that, and then he said, "Oh, sorry about that. You're proven innocent. You're innocent until proven guilty." It was hilarious, man. It really was. All right, my man Walrad says, "Amen." All right, Max says, this might be controversial, but I would like to see Brock Lesnar return. Yes, and see, that's another thing. And Brock Lesnar was just accused. It was an accusation against him just because Vince and him was exchanging text messages or they was on the phone with each other. And Vince was talking about him, him getting involved with the female. So that right there, they decided they gonna scrub him from the WWE too. At first, now they're talking about maybe bringing him back, but they're going to scrub him. They're going to destroy his legacy too because of the allegations against him. So, man, I just don't know. Matthew. All right, Walrad says, I think we as people need to be less judgmental. That's true. To judge Vince is to simply judge ourselves. We are all flawed. God died so that we can be forgiven. No doubt. More fans need to forgive. That's true. That's true. Straight up. All right, my man, Matthew Collins, Harry. There are mistakes and then there are criminal mistakes. Yes, he did a lot for wrestling, but with what's attached to his name, it's just beef. It's just best for him to stay out of the public view. Well, that's when he first did it. That's exactly what we was talking about. Exactly, man. And yeah, it still made what you just said. It, we both can say that. But man, if he wants to come back and be in the business, that's him. That's him, Matthew. Hey, I have nothing. It's nothing. And I will agree with Walrez. Who am I to say that this man cannot come back and be involved in this business? Come back and make money in this business. A lot of people have made mistakes, especially in sports that I have seen have made mistakes. And now you make a mistake, you definitely not coming back. You definitely not going to be able to get back in the public eye and to be able to make money at what you was trained to do or what you worked hard to do. I mean, I go back to, and I think it was a horrible thing. Let me, what's that running back? That running back, what is his name? That beat up his girlfriend or something like that. Beat up his girlfriend, and I cannot even think of his name right now. But he beat up his girlfriend, and he never could get back on the team. He's trying to get back in the NFL. Made a horrible mistake. Horrible mistake. Lucky Michael Vick was able to, even though You know, what he did to those dogs was horrible. I mean, it was horrific. And maybe and when the time he came back to play, yeah, of course, yeah, I held a lot against him. I held that against him for a while, but then I had to let it go. But if people back then, you know, if it was up to people, he wouldn't have never played football again. I mean, this man wouldn't have been able to work at a gas station. You know, so I'm just, man, it's wow. Wow, Matthew. Straight up, man. Straight up. All I can say, let me just put it this way, man. Paul was a murderer. I mean, if you believe in the word of God, if you believe in the Bible, like I say, Paul was a murderer. That's all there is to it, man. David was a murderer. A man after God's own heart. So who are we to say, once again, that this man cannot come back and redeem himself? If he did something criminal, then he deserves his day in court. He deserves his day in court. 100%. But man, you know, none of us actually have a right. None of us have a right to say that this guy cannot come back and do what he's good at. I mean, what he's been blessed to do. Like I say, unless there's criminal, unless he goes through a criminal trial, or there's some criminal and he's guilty, he's 100% guilty without a shadow of a doubt that we can say that. Not saying I disagree with what you're saying, Matthew, because to a strong, you know, I'm leaning to your side more than I'm leaning to my side. I really am. I really am. I'm 80% with you on everything you're saying. But there's that 20% of me saying, hey, everybody deserves a second chance. Unless they get, you know, unless they actually did, you know, they actually did that, you know, they actually did something that pretty much destroyed another person's life. If what he did destroyed this person's life, then that person needs to take him to criminal court and let a jury of his and her peers judge that man along with the judge. And that's just being straight up, man. That's being straight up about it. All right. That's all I can, you know, that's all I can really say about it right now until I come to another comment. All right. Max Savage says, I'm number 30 in the Royal Rumble. Okay. All right, Max. All right. Jordan Payne says, I'm 31, laugh out loud. Walrad says, Matthew, I would suggest that we will try to be better people personally. That's true. And save our judgments for ourselves. Anyone in this world can make accusations. Accusations are not truth. That's true. And you know what? And as far as judgments go, you know, I will say this as far as judging, you know, hey, you know, a lot of people say, hey, none of us have a right to judge. And I'm going to say this about judging. That's not true either. I mean, I know people that say, okay, you can't judge that. If I'm driving up the road and there's somebody down the road, there's a guy, there's a young man out here, and I see him selling drugs. And you know, he's a drug dealer. So basically I see him selling drugs. I say, oh, he's a drug dealer. This guy wants to date my daughter. He's been around my daughter and everything. I'm gonna come up to my daughter. Don't be around him. I don't want you going around this guy. You don't have a, you know, you definitely can't date him. I don't want him nowhere near you. My daughter, I don't want my daughter telling me. My daughter can't tell me, you can't judge him, daddy. Yes, I can. I saw what he did. You know? So that's when judging, you judge when you judge righteously. We all judge. We all make judgments. You know, we all judge. That's all it is to it. I mean, you judge every single time you walk out that door. You make a judgment call on what you're going to eat for the day. You make a judgment call on what kind of clothes you're going to put on. You make a judgment call on every single thing that you do. we all do it, man. It, the Bible even tells us that. Hey, man, if you judge righteously. We all judge. We all judge. That's the bottom line. But like I said, I can't judge Vince McMahon because I wasn't there. I didn't see it. All this stuff is accusations, and it's his word against her word, and that's all it is to it. That's all it is to it. I mean, I don't know, Matthew, if you ever had anything said against you. I've had plenty of things said against me. Plenty of things said against me that wasn't true. And, at my job, a couple times at my job in the past, wasn't true. And out here, since I've been in the wrestling business, wasn't true. I've had people make judgment calls and got in beef with people over things that wasn't true. They didn't even know me. I've had things happen with friends, that I've known for years in the music business. Since I've been, been in the music business, especially in the music business, you talking about toxic things said, and these people known me for years, and they heard something from one person, somebody that may come up new, that's in the music business or whatever, that may want to take the position that I'm in, or want to, be closer to this person, and they say something about you. And that's not saying that Vince McMahon is not a bad person, that he's not an evil man. Because that's not saying he's not, because when it boils down to it, do I think he's done a lot of bad things? Of course. More bad than good. More bad than good. Straight up. But I don't know personally what he has done. But I'm talking about, as far as what I've seen. I mean, that whole Attitude Era, and I'm going to be straight up with you, that whole Attitude Era showed me a lot as far as his character goes. Even though he's playing a character, and everybody else, he had other people playing a character. But for you to pretty much run your company in that, even though a lot of us loved it, we cannot say we did not. And it brought our eyes to the set. But still, you got to think about a person who decides to do something like that. Man, let's look at Jerry Springer. Who knows what Jerry Springer done, man? When you somebody who has that type of mindset. But when it boils down to it, he could be a great person. Just with flaws like all of us. All of us have flaws, man. All right. Walras says, we're defending the right of an individual to be heard. That's true. We're defending our Constitution, innocent until proven guilty. Yes. We're defending our humanity, that we're all flawed. Yes, that we're flawed. Jordan Payne, I know Hulk Hogan did wrong and got booed, but Jeff Hardy gets cheered and he has multiple DUIs. Exactly. That's true. That is true. That's messed up. Walras says, don't let someone make you feel bad for simply stating the law, innocent until proven guilty. That's true. What makes one human being claims immaculate truth that's reserved for the Bible? That's true. I agree with that, 100%. All right, my man Matthew says, yes, it's day in court, just like Trump, right? Yeah, everybody deserves their day in court. Even though, like I say, a lot of us gonna still sit here and say, that person did it. That person did it. I mean, straight up. I mean, even if that person got away with it, they had their day in court. And do I think a lot of people who's had their day in court got away with things? Yes, there's a lot of people that I see that's even recently. So, Matthew, hey man, that's all I can really say is he deserves his day in court. He does, man. Straight up. Walras says we can't operate on assumptions, accusations or assumptions. It's not fair to Vince McMahon. We are not the United States court, and we are not God. Exactly. 100%. Matthew, I don't know what in the world you got there, man. I really don't. Let me see. About to go over to Facebook and check this thing out. But yeah, I can't see everything right there, man. I got that light blinding me there. But let me go over here to Facebook and check out this thing here. So I want to make sure, see what everybody is saying, what you're saying here on the thing, man. Oh, shoot. Let me go to my page, go to my home page, and look at it. Okay, Matthew giving a thumbs up. I appreciate that, Matthew. All right, let's see. All right, 20th kind master, man. Lucas, man, I'm about to get you on the next stream. Not this one, brother. We're getting into some serious talking. Serious talk. All right, Walrad says we can only judge what we see with our own eyes. That's true. Our own personal truth, we can't judge upon another's personal belief. That is for the court of law, in my opinion. Exactly. I'm 100% with you on that, my man, Walrads. Max Savage, I'm going to throw out John Cena and say you can't see me. I hear you. I hear you, man. Max Savage, my man, Max. Wrestler out here in the Carolinas, and another wrestler, my man, Matthew Collins, another wrestler, Sea-Dog, and my boy, Max Savage, both of these guys, man. Definitely go check them out, man. You on YouTube, definitely go check them out. They both wrestle. But hey, man, this has been a great discussion, and we got into some extra things here, and I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. But 100%, I knew that I would have to defend Vince McMahon. I mean, when it boils down to it, like Walrad said, hey, this guy, he deserves to do what he does, man. He really does. He deserves to have a chance, but he also deserves his day in court. He deserves to be able to answer for what he did if he did do something. If he, I'm not saying that he didn't do anything, because he didn't deny that he's been involved with this lady. The last one, Janelle Grant. I hate to say her name on here, but he didn't say he didn't do anything with her. He just says that everything that she says happened and how everything happened isn't true. And now the people that the ones who was out here who was saying that he actually did all this stuff, that at first they was going with that was trying to throw him under the bus. Now they coming out and defending him. Now they on Vince's side. So it's flat out crazy. Oh man, wow. Sorry about that, guys. Wow, I knocked myself off. Oh, sorry about that. I knocked myself off by mistake. But yeah, I definitely think Vince is coming back, regardless of what we think, regardless of what we think. And there's a lot of people that's in that boat right now. It's not just Matthew. And, Matthew came around, man. He said, he deserves his day in court, just like Trump. When it boils down to it, everybody deserves their day in court. But he done went through the criminal side, unless somebody else come up with something and say this is criminal what he did, and we need you in court to testify. We need for you to come in here and give your testimony of what went down. We need for you to prove your innocence in this. Until that happens, you can't say that this man is a criminal, and let this man come out. Because right now, I'm telling you, let's keep this wrestling. We're going back to wrestling. Keep it wrestling. Right now is the time for Vince McMahon to make his return. Because when it boils down to it, even though the WWE is doing very well with what he the one set up, this thing with Netflix. He set that up before he left the WWE. But even though they're doing well with Netflix, we don't know how long that's going to last. We really don't. But Vince right here, he can throw a cog in everything, man. He can throw a cog in this whole thing. He can throw a monkey wrench in this whole thing. Wrestling right now needs somebody to come in and pretty much shore up things, guys. Pretty much improve things. Make everything look good. Make everything competitive again. And he will be not just a asset to, as far as just building a business, as far as coming back and just being, just being here and, adding another company, he's going to make everybody else better. He's going to make the WWE improve. He is going to make AEW improve. He's going to make everybody in the indies up their game. Because the indies, Matthew Collins, Max Savage, we all know the indies mirror what we see on TV, guys. What the WWE does and what AEW does, the indies try to copy that. Even from the biggest to the smallest indie, they try to copy what AEW and the WWE does. But mainly the WWE. What the WWE does, it trickles all the way down to the smallest indie, guys. And it's sad. So we have a lot of copycat leagues out here, and a lot of people try to do the same thing. We need somebody come in here to shake it up. We definitely do. All right, Walraz, got the appreciate that love, brother. Walraz, you are a great host, very gracious with great energy. Thank you, Walraz. All right, my man Max Savage says WWE wouldn't be what it is today without that man, and that's just the truth. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. It wouldn't. It would not be what it is today without Vince McMahon. And see, that's what everybody out here is trying to destroy. They want to destroy this man. This man is the legacy. I mean, we can look at every single thing, and I'm gonna say something that some people may not like. As far as I don't care what statues was what. I don't care if it was a Confederate soldier. I don't care if it was a Union soldier or past presidents or whoever, or something that was controversial. People in this country, man, they want to tear down statues and things like that. They was doing that a few years back or whatever, tearing down the legacies and things, trying to tear down history that somebody else, that somebody built, that what made this country. I don't like that. I don't like that. What this man done, what Vince McMahon done, great legacy, terrific. This business would not be here. Say if he would have bought WCW and 3 or 4 years later, he would have quit the game. I guarantee you, this whole wrestling, the wrestling business today wouldn't be what it is today. Because I don't think anybody else could have ran it like that. I don't think anybody else could have kept this thing afloat like Vince McMahon did. This thing probably would be back in little small bars and dusty bars and things like that, and running around in the circus. I believe it would be without Vince McMahon. I do. Without Vince McMahon, it definitely would be that. Man, it's crazy. When I came back into this, because I stopped watching wrestling after WCW went down, and just watched it sporadically. I was a casual fan. I went and watched what I did. The thing that I pretty much grew up what I was doing, and that was boxing. I got into boxing and did my music, and I watched wrestling every now and then. People that I like. When Randy Orton came along, and a few other wrestlers out here that I really enjoyed, like Sting when he went over to TNA for a little while. Some of these people I still followed, but for the most part, I was not watching wrestling until 2021 when we started the Straight Up Wrestling Show. We went back into it because we went into we was doing indie shows, and we went back into it, and we decided to cover the WWE, AEW, and TNA. And my partner, man, he was into, and we was covering Ring of Honor too. My partner was all into AEW. Now, my partner, he loved WWE. You could never say anything about WWE to the People's Podcaster back in the day. But he started listening to this podcast, a certain podcast, and he started getting with these dudes that hated the WWE. And they used to love WWE, but they said they'll never watch the product again because Vince did. He did this to this wrestler. He did that to that wrestler. He did that. Only thing that happened to their wrestlers is their wrestlers started falling off. They got weaker. That's the only thing that happened to the wrestlers. Their wrestlers became, instead of being on the top of the cards, their wrestlers became mid carders. Or, they started wrestling on the low end and people didn't like it. They didn't like it. So, hey, we're going to go over to the alternative and we're going to talk all kind of junk about this man. We're going to dog him out. Vince McMahon, he's the problem. He's the problem. So when Triple H comes up and takes over and everything in Triple H for the first couple months, his shows look pretty good. But you know what? I was looking at the booking. I'm like, is this man better than Vince McMahon? Everybody's saying, oh, he's way better than Vince McMahon. He's made me a believer in wrestling again. The reason that I'm watching wrestling again and loving wrestling is Triple H. Because this man right here behind me, Vince McMahon, he destroyed wrestling. He's a joke. He can't book it anymore. He don't know what he's doing. When everything that we see is all because of him. And now we see Triple H, and people are questioning Triple H. Some people are questioning his booking skills and what he's doing. But there's some people still loving him because, hey, at least he's not Vince McMahon. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But you better believe, and I like I say, I believe this 100% in my heart. If anybody can take down WWE, anybody can hurt WWE, I mean, really put a hurting on them, that man right there behind me, the man that's right here, and right here on the poster, the man that we're talking about, Vince McMahon can hurt it and hurt it bad, guys, hurt it bad. Not saying he's going to come in and win right away, because what he built was a monster, but I wouldn't put it past him. Wouldn't put it past him. Straight up. All right, my man Max Savage says, and I would like to see who turned? Kara returned to personally seeing Kara. Who? I don't know who that is. Walrad says, now is the time for Vince to return. Finish the story. If Netflix is like Fox, it only goes through one contract run. Yep, that's true. All right, Max Savage, the Legend Killer is the best version of Randy. Yes, that was my favorite, Max. That was my favorite. Love when he was the Legend Killer. You must have been really young, man, when that was going on. All right, Walrad says, tearing down statues solves nothing. Exactly. We have a history. We have a story of how we got here. Exactly. Free speech is God-given. Yes. May we have the grace to remember, listen, and grow together. Yes, sir. Matt Savage says, Triple H is good, but he's no Vince. That's true. That's 100% true. That's 100% true, man. I mean, a lot of people out here, they might not like it, but it's 100% true. But guys, if you like what I'm doing here, guys, you like hearing the Straight Up Wrestling Show, or you just now stumbled onto the Straight Up Wrestling Show, man, go ahead and hit that like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you on YouTube, do the same thing. If you're over on Twitch and on Facebook, hit that like, share, join. And man, if you over on X, hit that like, share, tweet, and retweet, and follow the Straight Up Wrestling Show, guys. We are here, man, to pretty much bring you the latest news in action. I mean, the latest news in wrestling, and talk about, hey, sometimes we're going to talk about controversial subjects, but I will always be straight up with you. Me and my partner, Christopher Burton, we always going to be straight up with you, whether you like it or not. And, sometimes, I mean, Matthew, he's a personal friend of mine, and, he's a personal friend of ours. But, hey, I'm going to tell the truth, brother. It does not matter who it is, too. I'm going to tell the truth. I mean, I haven't met Matthew personally, but what I'm saying is, as far as on our podcast and all that, he's a really good dude. And, man, hey, definitely respect, his opinions on everything. But, man, like I said, he deserves a day in court. And Matthew, he pretty much brought it down the line and pretty much gave a thumbs up and said that's exactly that the man deserves a day in court. If there's anything criminal to charge him with, these ladies need to come out and they need to come out and they need to play their hand. But the hand they decided to play was a money grab, guys, and that's all it is to it. And that's a civil case. So when it's a civil case, then there's something a little fishy there, guys. It's not always what it's cracked up to be. And that's just it. I mean, not all the time, but I'm just saying, usually when it's powerful people, get civilly, a civil case against them. Things are not always what's cracked up to be. All right, Walrad says Goldust is underrated. Yes. Oh yeah. Yes. Goldust definitely underrated. No doubt. All right, man. My man Walrad says I agree. But yes, 100%, man. But yeah, Vince McMahon, it's time for him to make his return, man. Because if anybody's gonna build stars, anybody that can go out and pluck wrestlers, pluck the right wrestlers that's being let go, because there's gonna be a lot of wrestlers being let go. Anybody can grab the right wrestlers and have an agent go out and even go out himself. When he has the energy to do it, he still has plenty of energy. And get the right wrestlers is this dude here, man. This guy here. All right, Max says I'm ready for the 20 seconds. Oh yeah, me too, Max. By the way, Harry and Stardust is returning to face Cody, y'all. Yeah, I wish he does. Well, I don't know about him. Look, man, I'm not really into that brother by those brothers facing off each other or dad against son. I'm not into all that, man. But if he does, that would be great. They both great wrestlers. So, but you and your brother Malcolm facing each other. Now I'm into that. You guys are great, man. Y'all are outstanding. Y'all are outstanding. But when it boils down to it, no, I'm not into those type of feuds. Never have. And I go all the way back to wrestling back in the 70s, guys. So I could go back all the way back to feuds from brothers and cousins and things like that, and dad and son and those guys feuding against each other. I never cared for that, man. Never have. Even when it was kayfabe, I never have like that. Oh man. But yeah, so we will see. We definitely will see what's gonna happen with Vince McMahon and with this company, this company that he has. And I hope he comes back. I hope it's a wrestling company, guys. I really do. I hope it's a wrestling company, and I hope he comes in strong, because we need it. We need it. Because a lot of times, man, I have been bored and have gotten very tired of watching the same old, and it's predictable. Right now, wrestling is predictable. We need something that's unpredictable. He's going to bring unpredictability back to wrestling, guys. And we need that. We need that. Straight up. But, man, I appreciate everybody coming in, joining with me. Guys, but I have got to go. I got to get up and do some things, but I will be coming on probably and do another show a little bit later on today. All right, let me see. Man, Alex. Alex says Vince McMahon buys TNA. Well, TNA, I think WWE and TNA just signed an agreement, Aaron. I really do. So, not really. They did sign an agreement. So I don't have all the details. My partner does, because he put it in our group on Facebook. But yeah, they have signed an agreement. So Vince will not be buying TNA. And I don't think he's going to buy AEW either, because I think Tony Khan want to continue to play. He wants to play with his toy. That's all it is to it. But Vince, all right. Thank you all, Raz. I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. But yeah, Vince, I think now at first it probably will be better. I do think it'd be better if he has a chance, if he can go into AEW and actually buy it up, because they already established. But I'm kind of with Jim Cornette on this, and who else? Jim Cornette and Brian and some of these other podcasters. I think it was Dutch Mantel and a couple other people saying if he goes in and buy, if him and Shane goes in and buy AEW, what are they buying? What are they buying? It's just like anywhere, because you say you buying up those contracts of the wrestlers, because Vince can do everything that they're doing right now. He's got the money to be able to do exactly what they're doing and go out and sign his own wrestlers. Because I just don't see, as far as any stars that's in, well, especially AEW. Now WWE, there are stars that will be beneficial to them. But as far as in AEW, I really don't see any big stars that's really beneficial to them. TNA either. I don't see guys that can really, because when Vince comes back, he has to find a wrestler who can make a splash, guys. They can make a splash, they can turn everything around. And how many of those that we actually have in wrestling today, to tell you the truth? Not many. Not many. Because what we've had as far as wrestling within the last few years, last 2 years, I'll say, since Vince has been out of that, we haven't had anybody who's really built somebody that was a character, that's a larger than life character, which pretty much drew most of our attention to wrestling in the first place, is because they had larger than life characters. When the last time you seen one of those? Outside of Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. I mean, Cody Rhodes now, but you know, you can't really depend on Roman Reigns because he's now in Hollywood. Brock Lesnar, definitely a bigger than life character, but Brock Lesnar is a part-timer. And speaking of Brock Lesnar, Max, Brock will wrestle for Vince because he's very close with Vince. Him and Vince, very close. So he will come back and wrestle for Vince. When I think about it, that will be a great person to have in your stable, straight up. Max says Ray Phoenix needs to come to WWE. Yes, he does. And he's trying to. He's trying to. But Tony is punishing him. He can't get out of his contract right now. Walrad said the only thing he be buying is the TV deal. That's it. That's true. That's true. Walrad says Vince could get a better TV deal than AEW. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. All right. Max says Zilafar 2. Zilafar 2. Well, I don't know if he would come in and be a bigger than life character. Now, he's a big dude, but I'm not exactly sure. It's a big dude, and he has a presence about him, but I'm not exactly sure. Now, somebody I will say that's in AEW that comes there sporadically. He wrestles in Japan a lot. Lance, the Murder Hawk Monster. Lance, what is his last name? I can't think of his last name, but get him. I think Claudio Castagnoli, if you can get him back, he's a bigger than life character. Bobby Lashley, they have him, but Tony Khan do not know how to build him like that. So, I mean, there's a few of them out there, but WWE still has bigger than life characters. When it boils down to it, Drew McIntyre is a bigger than life character. Let's see, Sheamus is a bigger than life character. Braun Breaker a bigger than life character. You have them over there, but they are not getting the rub that they deserve. They are not being booked right. They're not being booked the way that a larger than life character should be booked. That's the problem. Is a great talent. Zillivar 2 is a great talent. Okay, I agree with you on that, Max. All right, Walrad said Brock Lesnar gets to keep his name too. Think about that. Yes. But Brock would go and wrestle for Vince, and he will probably have to wrestle a little bit more so till Vince get established. All right, Aaron says Vince McMahon bring back Charlie Haas. Okay, all right, that's a name. Matt Savage says Blackheart Leo Rush. Well, Leo is not a bigger than life character. I mean, he's pretty good. He's a pretty good wrestler, Max. He's a smaller guy. That's not saying he's not larger than life. Because they're smaller. They are smaller than smaller wrestlers that was larger than life. There's plenty of them. Rey Mysterio, definitely. He's first one comes to mind. He's smaller than Leo a little bit. So, there's been plenty of smaller guys. Rock and Roll Express, bigger than life characters. But man, you have to build yourself as a bigger than life character by what you can do in the ring. Of course, Leo can do a lot of things in the ring, but he has to have the competition, and he has to have the feuds that make him a bigger than life character. All right, Aaron says Vince McMahon brings back Damian Sandow. Okay, Sandow. Hey, who knows? But yeah, there are definitely people out there that he can grab up, that contracts are coming up and things like that. He can make a bigger than life character. Brian Cage could be one. Brian Cage definitely could be one. Even though I don't really think he's really that skilled, but he definitely could be a bigger than life character. Malachi Black, he's going to be available, I'm pretty sure. Oh man. But let me get a little drink of Gatorade, guys. This right here is being brought to you by Gatorade Zero, guys. Gatorade Zero. Hey, right now I got the berry flavor. All right, my man Aaron says Vince McMahon brings back Damien. My man Max says, do you think Cruel could be one? Cruel, wow. Cruel's in the NWA right now, right? I think he's wrestling for the NWA. And Cruel, I did indie shows with him, Max. Cruel something, yeah, it's a big dude. Yeah, definitely can be one, man. Definitely can be one. I'm surprised AEW haven't picked him up. WWE probably should pick him up. Big dude, man, 7 foot monster. Somebody need to pick up Cruel. Somebody need to pick up my man Michael Judas. He could be one. That's man, you got a lot of guys on the indie scene who could be a larger than life character. Even yourself, Max Savage, as you get older. As you get older, you're a young guy, man. You still growing into your character. You're a young guy, but you're outstanding. You and your brother Monster Malcolm. Oh my gosh, man. I'm so impressed with you two. I am so impressed with you two. All right, Aaron says Garrett Bischoff should debut in WWE. Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, guys, I'm going to stay on a little bit longer. But yes, WWE right now, WWE, it has taken over TNA. Well, I don't think they bought them out, taking over, but they having a working relationship, and they got an agreed working relationship now. So, hey, we'll see how that thing works out. And, man, because, yeah, especially with Tessa Blanchard being able to wrestle now, she's going to be able to pretty much go in between, and maybe she's going to get some work over on WWE TV. And I wonder how a lot of people are going to feel about that. I have nothing against her. I mean, she's a great talent, and I think she can 90% of these women that's out here wrestling right now, she can outwork, man. She can legitimately beat them too. So we'll see how that comes out. We will see how that plays out with her career. Hey, tell you the truth, everybody deserves second chances, man. I wish nothing but the best for her. I do. I wish nothing but the best for her, straight up. But yeah, I'm definitely hoping that Vince McMahon do what I think he's gonna do, and that's come back and pretty much grab his real estate, man. Grab what is his in this wrestling business. Come back and put his name back on the throne, and leave something special for his son. Definitely. Because, Shane, I didn't know Shane loved the business like that. I really didn't. And, when I watched that documentary, which I got one more left, I'm on the 6th one. I started watching that a little bit this morning, then I stopped. But I need to go back and watch that. But I didn't know he loved the business the way he did. He said he was always around it. He loved it and everything. So Shane definitely wants to be involved in the business. So I definitely believe that it will be great if his dad up and starts another wrestling company and make that thing successful along with his son, and give it to his son. Let his son have something that, start off in a Cadillac. He gives his son a Cadillac, a used Cadillac that his dad comes in and runs for a couple years, and build that thing up and give his son a great used Cadillac that's a well-oiled machine. And that young man take this business. I ain't gonna say Shane's young. He's in his 50s too. He's my age. So, but take it, man, to no telling where he can take it. Straight up. All right, Max says, I gotta. He said, I see you the 22nd. Love watching your show, man. Appreciate that, Max. All right, Max says he got to go. Max, tell your mom I said hey, man. All right, and tell your sister I said hey. All right, Max says, I got to go. I see you on the 22nd. I love watching your show, man. Keep it up. Thank you, Max. All right, Wild Raz says, what about Vince using Enzo? Despite size, larger than life personality. True. That's true. Yeah, definitely Enzo will be a great addition to what Vince want to do. I would love to see that. I would love to see that. All right. Yeah, who in the heck? All right. But, man, yeah, that's all I got to say as far as on Vince, guys. Man, I really don't want to go outside of that. All right, Aaron says, in the near future, Eric Bischoff gives his son, Garrett Bischoff, executive GM role. That could happen. That could happen. We'll see. Let's see. All right, but guys, let me go ahead and go over these points I made again. I'm just going to go on one more time and talk about why I think Vince, if I can find him, why I think Vince, despite Vince's age, now it's the time for Vince McMahon to make his return, guys. First, like I said, plucking stars from established organizations. I've never seen anybody do that better than Vince. I've never seen anybody pluck stars from established organizations like Vince, and he did it. He did it. He went down first. You know, the biggest star that he ever plucked from any organization was Hulk Hogan. Of course, Hulk Hogan. He plucked Hulk Hogan from the AWA. It made Hulk Hogan even into a bigger star. Hulk Hogan was already a star, guys. He was already a huge star in America. He was. Was he on the level that he became with Hulkamania? No. Now, Hulkamania already had started in AWA. You know, they already had put that name out there. You know, it already had started. But Vince took that thing to, man, he just way above. It's kind of like a Michael Jackson effect. You know, as far as Michael Jackson, you know, what he did after he left his brothers, after he left the Jackson 5. Michael Jackson just went into another atmosphere, man. And that's kind of, you know, what Hulk Hogan, you know, he just exploded. He just exploded when Vince got a hold of him. And so you can look at, when Quincy Jones got a hold of Michael Jackson, took him away from his brothers, Michael, man, that thing just flat out went crazy. Flat out went crazy. So, and then, hey, he ended up getting Roddy Piper from the Mid-Atlantic Championship area. Roddy Piper made him a bigger star than what he was, and Roddy Piper was huge. Goodness sake. Wow. Sorry about that. You know, he got Paul Orndorff, you know, out of Florida. He got Junkyard Dog out of Memphis. You know, he started grabbing up all these stars back in the 80s, man. There were stars in other territories. So he is good at plucking the right stars, and he knows how to build them, and which is my second point. Build them into, you know, into a better not a better wrestler, a bigger star, a bigger wrestler, a bigger name, and he knows how to build bigger characters. You know, he knows how to make that character even bigger than what it is. If they got an established character, or he knows how to put a character on somebody that's already great. You know, take Mankind, not Mankind. I mean, take the Undertaker, Mean Mark Callis, who was Mean Mark Callis, and I enjoyed him. I loved him in WCW. Mean Mark Callis, when he first came to WCW, loved him, man, walking the ropes and everything. You know, when I first went and seen him, I think I saw the second or third match I saw him live. I'm like, man, this guy's incredible, man. He is outstanding. You know, he's with the Skyscrapers and all that, but he goes up to the WWE. He's the Undertaker, man. Incredible what he did with him. Number 3, thriving on chaos. Like I say, you put him in a chaotic position. The Attitude Era was all about chaos. He thrived in that, man. He thrived. And wrestling today is chaotic. He thrives in chaos. Competition brings out his creativity. Now, Vince McMahon, anytime that he had major competition, and that was Jim Crockett Promotions, the NWA, and then it was Jim Crockett Promotions, the NWA, WCW, and then he sold it to Ted Turner, and they still was competition. They fell off a little bit, but it was competition. And then Eric Bischoff came, and Eric Bischoff finally overtook Vince McMahon. But what Vince McMahon do? Vince McMahon, he started changing the game. Eric Bischoff decided he wanted to do what Vince was doing, and he got Hulk Hogan. They brought Macho Man Randy Savage down. They got Hacksaw Jim Duggan. They got Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Vince went ahead and said, okay, how can I combat this? Vince started doing hardcore wrestling. They started wrestling more over there. You didn't see Don't the Clown went away. Repo Man, that kind of stuff, boom, gone. more wrestling. That's how he combated that. And he got, Stone Cold Steve Austin, who used to be Stunning Steve Austin over in the WCW, who was a great wrestler, but he did change his character into, more of a kick and punch guy and a guy who just will hit you with the stunner and it was all over. But man, yeah, Vince just great when it comes to, competition. It brings out his creativity. And right now, if he starts a wrestling company now, he has immediate competition with the WWE, with AEW and TNA, and even MLW and NWA. He's got immediate competition. All right, legacy, guys. Legacy is another reason. For it's time to come back because he wants to leave his legacy intact. Because there's been so many things said about this man. He's been named and ran through the mud, ran through the courts and everything. So I'm pretty sure Vince wants to leave his legacy. This is something that he's built. He feels like he is wrestling, guys. He is the wrestling business. As much as he didn't want wrestlers to be bigger than the company, he was bigger than the company. He was bigger than wrestling. Just huge. He wants to leave his name. He wants to leave a good, leave the wrestling business with a good name, with the McMahon name intact. And I'm pretty sure he's thinking about his dad there too. So Vince definitely wants his legacy to be honored. And that's the reason why I think he's coming back. He's going to have a company and he's going to leave it to his son. All right, guys. 6, being able to hand the business over to his children, which I was saying. Okay, he wants to hand that business over to his children. Straight up. All right, Wall Reds. Well, yeah, another praying hands. Appreciate that, my man. Okay, let me see what you got there. Wall Reds. All right, praying hands. And, shaking hands. I appreciate my man. Appreciate my man Aaron with the thumbs up and the shaking hands. And Wall Reds, who would you hire to oversee creative in Vince's new organization? At first, you need to let him do it. You actually need to let him do it until it gets overwhelming. Until it gets overwhelming, I think he should do it because he has come up, even though he has always had a right-hand man. He had went and got George Scott from the Mid-Atlantic area back when George Scott, he was great. He was great. He got Pat Patterson, and then he got, who else did he get? Of course, he ended up with some other people, Vince Russo and things like that. But right now, outside of him, I would contact Dutch Mantell. Now, Dutch has some health problems, but I think Dutch still can actually come in and do something. But right now, if you actually want to come in, because he's going to have to come in and do wrestling the way it used to be at first, before you really get into the entertainment aspect of it. Now, before you get into the building the characters, he's going to have to build wrestling characters because we got enough characters in wrestling. We got enough factions and things. So first, I think it should be him. But his right-hand man to oversee creative overall after probably the first 4 to 6 months, give it to Dutch Mantell. But have Dutch Mantell bring him in already and they can be a team together. But Dutch Mantell should be the one to oversee it for the next couple years, and then you have to give it off to somebody else. But have Shane McMahon come out and be an apprentice, be up under Vince and Shane. Be under Vince and Dutch to see exactly how it should be done, and let Shane run with it. Straight up. All right. Walrad says, very good point. Keep it small and airtight and effective. Make it walk before you run. Exactly. No doubt about that. All right, man. But yeah, once again, appreciate everybody coming on, checking out Straight Up Wrestling Show. If you're over on Facebook right now, hit that like, share, join. If you're here on YouTube, hit like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, ding, 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 to know when we're on, like times like these. Do the same thing if you're over on Twitch. And if you're on Twitter, man, formerly known as Twitter, if you're over on X, hit that like, share, tweet, and retweet, and follow the Straight Up Wrestling Show. And, man, I like to thank my man Walraz for coming into the house, man. I like to thank my man Max Savage for coming in the house, rolling with us. I like to thank my man Aaron Fagor. I think that's Fagor. I'm not sure. But Walraz coming in here. Let's see. I'd like to thank Lucas, 20 of good Kindmaster CSX 2025. Let's see who else that came through. My man Jordan Payne. I appreciate him coming in. I appreciate my man John Smith coming through. Appreciate Black Rain 7920 and everybody else, because I see a lot of people have come on, and I appreciate and stayed and stuck around with the commentary. Appreciate you coming on and checking out Straight Up Wrestling Show. But until later, I'll see you guys. Stay straight up. Peace.